Hey Rohini.
Hey Vinita.
So what is this FTC training?
This training is bureaucracy we have to deal with.
Well, it's not exactly bureaucracy stuff. FTC disclaimers are guidelines from the Federal Trade and Commission for advertising and marketing. I think you guys will learn more about this during this meeting.
But how is this relevant for my job?
Well, do you make any announcements related to performance comparisons?
Yes, all the time.
Well, then you have to add disclaimers every time you make any kind of announcements. Hey, welcome. So you're in time just for a short quiz.
Is?
There are 4 cases here. In the first one, you're saying that Intel processor is better than ARM processor in speed. In the second case, you're comparing Intel phones in general with the market and saying that Intel phones perform better. In the third case, you're comparing Intel's own Xeon with Atom and saying that Xeon is much better than Atom. In the fourth case, you're just commenting on how many cores KMC has, which is 60. So now, which of these 4 cases need a disclaimer?
I think it's option A because that is where you are comparing with the external competitor.
I think it's all of them but the last one.
Well, she's correct. Because any kind of comparison of Intel's processor with any other processor, be it internal, external or competitor, we need to issue a disclaimer.
Cool, now can we leave and do real work?
Well guys, hold on. So, yes, you did really good in the quiz, but then your performance review slides do not say that. So let's briefly discuss your slides.
So these are comparison charts, but there is no disclaimer here.
Exactly. Any kind of comparison, we should have added a disclaimer in font size 8. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is interesting. What do you think is wrong with this?
Looks good to me.
It also has a disclaimer.
And the font size of the disclaimer is also 8.
Good, but here, there is another rule saying that the footnote, which is of font size 10 here, then the disclaimer should also be at least as much as the font size of the footnote. So the disclaimer, instead of being as font size 8, should have been of font size 10. That's the catch here. Let's move on quickly to the next one. What's wrong here?
It's so clear. The chart is overlapping with the disclaimer here, then hiding part of the disclaimer.
Exactly. Whenever you add a disclaimer, ensure that there is a minimum gap between the chart and the disclaimer so that we can read it easily.
But at this rate, we'll have more disclaimers than the content. So can we avoid the disclaimers?
You can avoid and have exceptions, but only if Interlegal approves. But on the other hand, if you're creating a white paper document, you should add all the disclaimers only in the disclaimer section.
Got
How
it.
about the technology disclaimers?
For that, you can put all the technology disclaimers in one slide, but ensure you have one such slide in your presentation. That'll work.
Okay.
Any kind of comparison, even if it is not by a chart but verbally, you'll still need to add a disclaimer. So if you're using any words like better, faster, then you need a clear FTC disclaimer regarding this.
I'm creating a new sleek website which has all Intel performance details. Should I add a disclaimer there?
Well, in that case, you have 2 options. Either you can add the FTC disclaimer as a short note at the end of the website, or you can put all of that in a link and add the link to your website. Well, I prefer the second one because it's more cleaner.
Got it.
So that's all. Any more questions?
I have one. I work with multiple OEM partners and we make many performance announcements. So does this rule apply to us?
Well, I've been repeating it from the beginning of the meeting. Any kind of announcements related to performance, you definitely need a disclaimer, except for cases which are approved by Interlegal.
I work on software benchmarks and we have a lot of configuration details like the operating system versions or the compiler versions. How can I add all these details? Wouldn't it take a lot of space?
Yeah, that would take a lot of space. So what you can do is probably add a basic configuration in your main slide and then add all the other details in your appendix.
So guys, even when you're making an online video, webcast or a chat or even a video like this, remember to add a disclaimer for 10 seconds at the end.
Bum.
Bum,
Bum, bum, bum, bum.